How soon after that were you doing actual play-by-play? Because that requires a great deal of training. It requires a great deal of practice, sculpting to get good at. You can't just be put at a microphone and do it well.
Right. Well, it was I did mostly producing work, but then I went to the program director and I said, hey, listen, I'd like to do reports from Shea Stadium, Yankee Stadium, Madison Square Garden. And he said, okay, we'll send you out there. So the sports talk show host was a guy named Jack Spector. And Jack would have me go out and cover it. So it became half producing, half announcing. Then it became more announcing than producing. It was just a slow process. And then the big break was when they did a simulcast on the MSG network. And the producer on the simulcast was Mike McCarthy. I was the producer on the radio cast. So we became great friends. And he got put up higher in the pecking order at the Garden. And when a radio job came open for the Knicks, to do the play-by-play, he went to their bosses and said, I got a young guy we think is really good. And that changed everything.
When did you realize you were good at it?
I thought I was pretty good at the radio. When you grow up in New York and you listen to Marv Albert, both radio and TV, something, if that's what you want, something stirs in you. I mean, there's nobody better. No one's ever called basketball better. So, I modeled myself after him, but not like him. And I thought after the first year, I'm like, okay, I'm pretty good at this. If you told me I was going to be the radio voice of the Knicks for the next 30, 40 years, I'd be the happiest person in the world. And I would have been.
The dream looked like what back then, though? Was it to be Marv Albert? Something like Marv Albert?
I thought I achieved the dream when I got the Knicks radio job. And I remember Marv was still doing TV for the MSG network then, and he called me after I got hired, called my house. And I remember getting off the phone saying to my wife, Marv Albert just called me to congratulate me. Welcome to the team. It's like, that dream doesn't get any better than that. So again, that's what I never imagined doing full-time television. I thought radio was going to be my gig. That's what I always did. And that would have been fine.
How old were you when Marv Albert called your house to tell you you've arrived at your dreams?
I'm going to say 28.
Okay, so that call on the landmarks of moving moments that you've had where you remember the lighthouses of emotion, like, oh my God, I'm so happy that I'm here. I know that you probably feel a degree of that daily just because of the energy of being around what you get to be around. But at the beginning, what are the landmarks?
When you see the person again now, it makes, like, you see this person and you think, wow, back then, how they helped me, how they helped change my life. That's when I get the most emotional, when you get a chance to see. For example, Pat Riley, when I was a Knicks radio announcer, I used to do this pregame recording with him. And you'd go into his office, and he had dark lights, and you'd go in, you ask a few questions, and then you'd leave. There was no social banter. But I learned so much from those interviews and saw his intensity, et cetera. So after the first year, he gets, I didn't think he knew my name. But a week after the first year, I get a handwritten letter from Pat Riley thanking me for the professional job I did that year. And I thought that was just the greatest thing. Then he has his 4 years of great success in New York and leaves to come to Miami. And after the announcement, I got another letter from him thanking me for 4 years of being part of a great journey. The letter meant so much to me that at a time when he was going through all this, he took the time to handwrite a letter to me. So I lost those letters in the fire. But my wife, and she didn't tell me right away, there were certain things when the people go in to try and salvage stuff, they found a few things. One of them was that letter. She had it sent to be restored and cleaned and stuff, and she just sent it to me the other day. And I get the letter and I look at it, and I just got so emotional because of that letter. And I brought it to Pat before game one of the finals, and I showed it to him. And he got emotional as well. And that's when those things come up. And when you see the person who made a difference, because that letter gave me confidence that Pat Riley thought I was good at my job. When you're an NBA play-by-play guy and Pat Riley thinks you're good, it gives a young man confidence. And that's what came through, and that's why I got so emotional.
he appreciates both professionalism and craftsmanship. He probably saw very early on that you were made of a certain thing, that he respected and respects the fact that you take care in the work that you do.
Right, and it makes a difference. It makes you, it makes you feel, okay, I can do this.
What else was found or recovered?
The other thing that she didn't tell me about right away is I'm not a big memorabilia guy. I've never really asked for autographs. But one year the NBA had this situation where they let players put their nicknames on the back of their jersey. They did it for 1 week. That was a cool idea. So ESPN, when we were doing our games, they gave us jerseys. Jeff Van Gundy had the notorious JVG. Mine was the Gray Mamba because of obviously my hair. So I'm thinking, you know what? I'm gonna get Kobe to sign that. And he signed the jersey from one Mamba to another. And it was great. And I got to know him pretty well at the end of his career, and then even after his career, more so. I did a couple of speaking engagements with him. So that one really meant something to me. And that's one of the first things I thought of when about, what did we lose? And my wife found that, and that's being restored as we speak.
You are a fan first, right?
Oh, crazy fan. Big Nick fan. I always say, when I was a kid, my dad, I thought he was the strongest man in the world, and Dave DeBusschere was the second strongest. So I loved DeBusschere, loved Clyde Frazier, and that's, another thing that just blows me away. Is I bought, when I was probably around 10, I bought a poster of Clyde, and I put it up in the garage where we used to have our weights for me and my brothers. And the poster is still up. My mother still lives in the same house that I grew up in, and the poster is still up. And now I've been working with the man for 30 years, and he's become this wonderful friend. It's like you can't make this stuff up. You don't understand, and you question, like, why me? Why have I had all these blessings and have all these things happen? Because that's not something you ever dream of.
What other advice have you gotten from broadcasters that has stayed with you? You mentioned that you you said it was Stockton,
right.
Not Emberg, right? That obviously one of the best to do it. What are some other advices that you've gotten along the way from people that have been most helpful?
Two were that I love listening to and gave me advice. Vern Lundquist and Dick Enberg. Lundquist had a phrase, celebrate the game. And it's so appropriate because, unfortunately, sometimes the game is bad. Sometimes you have to criticize players, coaches, refs. But people are watching the game because they love basketball. They don't want to hear you just killing people all the time. It's a game they love. That's why they're watching it. So celebrate the good parts. And Vern was great at that. And he also helped in terms of telling you, make the people feel like the guy who's sitting next to you or the woman who's sitting next to you, that you're best friends and are having just a time of your life together. And that I thought was really important. So that's something I did. The other with Dick Enberg was people want to know about the athletes that you're talking about. So give them some personal anecdotes and let them know that these players, these young men in the NBA, are human beings that have really interesting stories. So those two, more than just the technique of doing play-by-play, those two things I thought were important.
It must be strange to you, as fundamentally decent as you are, to see the coarsening in sports coverage when you're just trying to tell nice stories about an athlete who's human, but you come from a tabloid city. You've seen sports television become argument television. You've seen Anthony Davis be amazing and majestic, but a source of just endless criticism. It must be bothersome to you to watch what sports coverage has become.
I hate it. It's journalism has become criticism, and I hate that it's people feel that they have to be critical to be considered a good journalist or to be a good analyst. And there's so much out there that's it's difficult to put yourself in their positions. I mean, we all make mistakes. I make mistakes on the air. Players make mistakes on the court, and it's become too critical, and it's not just having to be critical. It's the words that are used in the criticism. I've always felt I'll criticize somebody, but I'll only use words that I would say to their face. For example, if you have a terrible game, you could say, "Oh, boy, Dan he just was awful. He stunk. It was an embarrassment what he did." Or you can say, "Boy, Dan really struggled tonight." You're saying the same thing. It's a more humane way to say it. And why do you have to crush people while you criticize them? There's a respectful way to do it. And I think a lot of people have gotten away from that, and that bothers me.